I come to you on behalf of those who govern our city and for all who participate in this meeting. I ask for your inspiration, insight, and guidance for the leaders of our community as they contemplate the issues that will come before them this evening. May their decisions please you and cause those who live in this city to have opportunity to lead quiet and peaceful lives. We thank you for the many blessings you bestow upon us, especially for the blessing of living in Marshall and in the United States of America. Help us all to be good and respectful citizens, whether we agree or disagree. And as you are aware, Lord, we are in this battle with the COVID-19 crisis. We thank you that things are improving. And I would ask you, Lord, to lead us in knowing how to fight it victoriously. We pray for those in our county and our community, Lord, who are recovering from this virus. We would ask, God, your comfort for those who have lost loved ones because of it. Continue to protect our frontline workers, the EMTs, the fire, police officers, and our healthcare workers. And Lord, this disease has not only stricken us physically, it has also hurt us very much economically. And so I pray, Lord, for wisdom for our leaders as they struggle with the shortfalls in budgets and the lives of people who just need to be back to work and employed. Would ask, God, that you would bring about a quick recovery for the welfare of our citizens, and that you would give us wisdom and understanding to those who govern on the national, state, and local levels, and for patience with our citizens. And finally, Lord, I seek your help in bringing calm to our cities after the tragic event that happened in Minnesota. Please restore peace, bring justice, show us and teach us your mercy. Help us become a country that respects others, their properties, and respects life. So once again, I pray for these leaders and that you would guide them and all who participate in this meeting this evening. And I close with the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Gerton.
You're welcome.
All right, next we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will start this evening with the approval of agenda, starting with any candidates for public office, followed by public comment on agenda items, followed by the consent agenda. Under item 11A, under public hearings, we have zoning amendment application RZ 20.01 to rezone 119 North Grand Street from professional office service district to R3 traditional residential. 11B, we have amendment to ordinance 134.30 fireworks. And 11C, we have amendment to ordinance 95.03 prohibited burning and the repealing of ordinances 95.04, 95.05, 95.06, and 95.99. Item 13A, we have the Eagle and Jefferson water main bids under reports and recommendations. 13B, we have Michigan Department of Transportation Sidewalk Cafe resolution. 13C, we have the East End Gallery easement. 13D, we have the annual compensation of administrative officials, department heads, and salaried personnel. 15, we have public comment on non-agenda items, followed by council and manager communications, and then closed session. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions to the agenda as presented?
I would like to make a motion to table 13D regarding annual compensation salaries for a work session to be held within the next 2 weeks prior to the next meeting.
All right, so any other additional comments or changes to the agenda? All right, hearing none, I'd seek a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by member Wolfersberger, support by member Traver. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Next, we'd like to invite any candidates for public office to speak. I see that Lynn has joined us this evening. Lynn, would you like to speak this evening?
I would love that. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Lynn Affandoulis. I am running for Congress, and in this COVID era, I'm taking every advantage of every opportunity I can to attend meetings like this, and sure look forward to the day that I can get back out into the communities and meet people and introduce myself and learn more about the communities that I hope to represent. After a good 40-year career that started out as a newspaper reporter back in the day when there were newspapers, and have had for the last 26 years before I was elected to office in 2018, I worked for a company in Grand Rapids called Universal Forest Products, a lumber manufacturing operation with, again, headquartered in Grand Rapids. And then part of my job at Universal was community service, and I had the great fortune to work on a number of community initiatives and to chair a number of boards. And I loved that part of my job. So when somebody decided not to run for the 73rd House seat, I chose to run. And that was the first elected office that I've held. I was elected in 2018. Started serving last year. I serve on 5 committees in the House, and chair tax policy. It's been a wonderful introduction, and I've learned so much. And again, I love service, and I feel grateful for the opportunity to be serving, and the opportunity to do that for more people in West Michigan and a larger district is intriguing to me. It's what I hope to do because I love it, because I think we are at a crossroads in our country, which has never been more pronounced than it has been in the last 24 hours or 48 hours. Grand Rapids has suffered greatly, as have many other cities. I took a walk downtown yesterday and helped clean up. The destruction is just amazing, and this on top of COVID. So we, as elected officials and as citizens of this great country, have a lot of work ahead of us. And I hope to participate in that in as many ways as possible, and certainly as the next congressperson of the 3rd Congressional District. One of the reasons I initially decided to run was because I remember what it was like to have Vern Ehlers as our congressman. And I remember what it was like to have an engaged congressperson. And I miss those days, and I know that our communities do as well. It is important for a congressperson to know his or her district well, and to bring the will and needs and issues of the district to Washington, and to bring Washington back to the district. That's what I'd like to do. That's what I intend to do. And I'll be working really hard in as many ways as I can to introduce myself, to earn the honor of your vote and your support. And I look forward to those opportunities and would love to hear about them. I keep up as much as I can on Facebook and on web pages to make sure that I know what they are. But I'm always open to hearing more about where I can meet members of the community and learn more about the needs of Marshall and other communities. So anyway, I thank you for this opportunity. I'm always happy to answer questions. I know your time is limited, so I'm just grateful to be here.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you for joining us this evening and introducing yourself. I know that I have your contact information, which I can make sure all the other council members have as well if they have any questions for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else running for public office like to speak this evening? All right, hearing none, we will move on to item 7 on the agenda, public comment on agenda items. Anyone wishing to address the council may do so. Please give your name and address for the record, and you have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. You can either raise your hand in the participant area of the Zoom meeting or comment on chat, and we will call on you from there.
I don't see any, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Somebody just unmuted, Eric.
This is Matt from Thompson Construction.
Hi, Matt, please go ahead.
It is regards to the Eagle and Jefferson Street project. We were red low, but we're not recommended. I just had some, I guess, from a company standpoint, we're a little distraught about it. We did bid the project. Unfortunately, I did not get to the engineer the letters of recommendation for our company doing work, which one is from your city. And I know there's some items on other bids that are not in line, but I guess just we have done work for the city before. We would have loved to have done the work for you guys. I don't think we've ever failed you in the past, but I guess we're a little disappointed that we're not going to get the award to the project after being low.
All right, Matt, thank you for your comments on that, and we will discuss that more under reports and recommendations.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on agenda items this evening? All right, seeing nothing in chat. And Eric, are you seeing any hands raised?
No, sir.
Thank you. We will move on to the consent agenda. Item 8A, we have the third quarter financials. 8B, the third quarter investment report. Item 8C, we have the third quarter cash and investment report. Item 8D, we have the vacation of a section of Sycamore Street and Spruce Street right-of-ways. Item 8E, we have the chain of command appointments. Item 8E, we have the city council minutes from Monday, May 18th, 2020. Item 8G, we have the city bills totaling $1,105,281.23. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions to the consent agenda this evening?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
We have a motion by member Metzger, support by member Underhill. Do a roll call vote, please.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member McNeil.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us to item 11A under public hearings, the zoning amendment application for RZ 20.01 to rezone 119 North Grand Street from professional office service district to a traditional residential. Tom or Tricia, would you like to brief us on this, please?
We'll let Tricia handle that.
Sure. Eldon Vincent, who is the owner of 119 North Grand, approached the city to rezone his parcel. Currently, it's in the professional office service district, and he would like it to be zoned residential, as he had interest in it. Buyer wanted to buy the property. Planning Commission noticed the public hearing and held the public hearing on May 13th. There was no questions on that. They worked through the rezoning criteria, and in your packet, all of their comments were there. It was pretty much consensus of the Planning Commission that residential is needed throughout the city, and this is just one way that we could help with that issue. So Planning Commission had the recommendation for City Council to approve. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is this the house on the corner of Grand and Mansion Street?
Yes.
Okay. Did that used to be a house before Vincent had it as a business? Or has it always been a business?
I believe at one point it was a residence. I'm not sure what year. And Eldon was under the impression that it was already rezoned residential, but it had not. It's been used for residential purposes for quite a few years, actually.
Yeah, I have no objection. It looks like a house. It fits like
Yeah.
a house, feels like a house, should be a house. I have no objection. No other questions.
I do have a question on the point B in the report. It says the property cannot reasonably be used as zoned. I'm curious if it's been used as an office for multiple years, why can't it continue to be?
It hasn't been being used as an office, and one of the reasons they stated that fact is because of lack of parking. I mean, if you're gonna have a thriving business there, and there's just no parking. I mean, it did manage to survive before, but it has been used as a residence for quite some time.
And Scott, it's also been rented out as an apartment. I mean, it's really has not been used as a business.
All right, any other questions from council? Hearing none, I would like to open up the public hearing. I see that Mr. Vincent has joined us this evening. Eldon, do you care to comment tonight?
Sure, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that people have. Just to give you a brief history, my wife and I bought the house back in, I believe it was 2006 or 2007. And at that point, we did move our law office into it. We were there for, I want to say 3 or 4 years. And it was at that point that we bought our building downtown. At that point, 2012, we actually moved back into it and made it our residence. 2011 or so, I had rented it out for about a year and a half. I was under the impression that I had asked to have it rezoned back to residential, but the buyer, when their title company was exploring the title on it, found out that no, we had never changed that back. So basically, shame on me. I guess I didn't realize that I had not done that back in 2012. Parking was one of the issues why we did end up moving downtown. There's really one or two cars in the driveway that was typically taken up by people who worked for me. And then there's 3 or 4 parallel parking spots across the street there on Grand in front of a 223 Mansion. And that's the limit of it.
Thank you, Eldon. Any other public comment this evening? All right, hearing and seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Any additional comments or questions from the council at this time? All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve rezoning request RZ 20.01 for 119 North Grand Street to rezone from professional office service district to R3 traditional residential.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by member Metzger. Was that support by Traver?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Traver,
Yes, for me.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
and Member Metzger.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 11B, amendment to ordinance 134.30 fireworks.
I will go ahead, but I'm going to, really Scott McDonald and City Attorney Sullivan will be able to brief you and explain before you open the public hearing. So Scott, would you start?
I will. With the reorganization of the fire department and the hire of a new fire chief, we've kind of been taking the time to talk to staff about some of our ordinances we've had. Also, some of my experience with the police department led me to believe our fireworks ordinance as it is quite dated, has some old language and been revised by the state. With that in mind, Attorney Sullivan and I took a look at it and have drafted this so it's consistent with the state and gives us some teeth to work with as far as enforce them around the community. The fire department's reviewed this. They're content that it offers some of the safety features they were looking for, in addition to helping regulate some of the fireworks sales people that come to town around the 4th of July. With that, I'll turn it over to Attorney Sullivan for any comments he may have. I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hello?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead, John.
Okay. My internet went out, so I wasn't able to hear. I rebooted on this phone, but if we only had FiberNet out here in Marshall Township, that wouldn't happen.
Basically, John, I just gave him a quick overview of why we looked at the ordinance and said you would kind of explain some of the nuances of it.
Is this the fireworks or the
Fireworks, yes, sir.
right? So the current version of the fireworks ordinance is outdated. I think it was last worked on it passed in 2012, and then the state statute was amended in 2018, and it had a different set of holidays or holiday periods that they would permit the discharge of fireworks. So our ordinance was outdated and needed to catch up with the state statute. And then while we worked on that, we decided that there were a number of safety type provisions that should be written into the ordinance. And we did that, and we believe that it's not overly regulatory, but enough to try to ensure some measure of safety in an area that just by its nature, lighting off fireworks in a residential neighborhood to begin with, and I think I can speak for other city prosecuting attorneys, and I think Scott would agree that the discharge of fireworks in a urban area is in and of itself a dangerous undertaking, and so we built in some safety features in our ordinance to try to better protect our citizens. So I think that the provisions in there are fairly self-explanatory. These are not criminal matters, but they're civil matters, and we see that trend throughout our ordinance revisions over the last couple of years as there's been an effort to decriminalize, but still keep safety first. So I think that would sum it up.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, John.
I guess that, are there any questions of us for the ordinance?
I appreciate you looking at it, Scott, and making those changes, so thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, hearing no other questions, we will go ahead and open the public hearing for the amendment of ordinance 134.30 fireworks. Anyone wishing to speak, please either raise your hand in the chat feature or comment in the chat feature. All right, hearing and seeing no hands. Is that correct, Eric?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. We will go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 134.30. Any additional comments or questions from council? All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion to adopt amendments to the city ordinance 134.30 fireworks.
So moved.
Support.
A motion by member Wolfersberger, support by member Metzger. Do a roll call vote, please.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
member McNeil,
Yes.
member Metzger,
Yes.
member Traver.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have public hearing 11C, amendment to ordinance 95.03, prohibited burning, and the repealing of ordinance 95.04, 95.05, 95.06, and 95.99.
Again, I'd like to turn it over to Director McDonald and Attorney Sullivan.
Thank you.
All right, Council, similar to our last ordinance, this was another one that we looked at when I took over the fire department. One of the first things the firemen did approach me about was this ordinance and the confusion among staff of how to enforce it, some of its vagueness, and it had not been visited in quite some time. For those who've been around for quite a while, leaf burning used to be a huge problem here in the city, and this ordinance was originally written to prevent that. Although now with instead of all these different fire pits and recreational appliances for burning, not to mention some of the safety concerns for some of the things that are being burnt or could be burnt, we thought we'd look at this. Again, this one took us some time because this one, I guess we didn't want it to be overly restrictive, but this is where you probably start stepping on some toes of what is a right and what can be regulated. So we looked at a lot of different ordinances around the state. We tried to be very clear on what is prohibited, such as garbage, litter, define who controls the property and who controls the fire. Similar to our fireworks ordinance, we did decriminalize it and went with municipal civil infractions. We added some language at the direction of the new fire chief about using some of these appliances in apartment buildings or multi-unit residential areas, the distance from the home, or having them up on decks and under patios and so on. So we tried to put some teeth into that. One of the biggest areas is probably these recreational fires. And I think if you look up state law, it's pretty much an inherent right. You can have a fire to cook food on, and or some people for religious ceremonies. So while we allowed it, we, again, because we're a tight-knit community with buildings close by, tried to put some, I guess I'm going to call them common sense safety features in. Keeping it 25 foot from the building, the wind speed could be an issue. Regulating it to only seasoned firewood, charcoal, some of these pellets, rather than just leaves. So again, I think it kind of speaks to itself. Attorney Sullivan, anything I missed that you wanted to add?
No, I think that covers it very adequately. The recreational fire section, subsection 3, A through I, was probably the most discussed area of the proposed ordinance, as it strikes a balance between neighbors who perhaps are affected by the smoke of a fire and those who want to sit in their backyard and enjoy a fire. So some activities in urban areas are, kind of compete against the interest of neighbors, and we try to present you with a series of provisions under recreational fires that meets and balances the needs of the neighbors who have different opinions. And The other point I would make is that because we did or do propose to decriminalize these matters to municipal civil infractions, both in this proposed ordinance and in the fireworks ordinance, we would submit to you in a few weeks or a couple of weeks a fine resolution to go along with the other fine resolutions that we've presented as we've changed other ordinances and made the prohibited conduct municipal civil infractions.
And to add to that, we've got a few more in the hopper, so you'll be hearing more from us. I guess I did want to go back real quick too and mention recreational fires under I. We specifically steered clear of banning them for health effects or nuisances because of the vagueness of those terms. So we're going to try to address that in a policy here at the fire department for how the firemen would investigate a particular complaint if the complainant's known, if there is a legitimate health or safety concern of why the smoke may be offensive to them. So we're open for questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any questions from the council?
Should citizens still be calling in and telling the department about the fire that they're going to have that night, or?
No, we're doing away with that. One of the things in the ordinance was some real outdated language about calling down, getting a permit from the city manager, and we have not, I couldn't find any of the firemen here that had actually did that while they're on duty, and I've got 2 of them have been here 20 years. So no, we're going to rely on citizens doing the right thing and then complaints being driven from neighbors.
Would the atmospheric conditions provision also encompass if we were having a drought?
That's exactly what it would. We would take our recommendation. There's a state DNR site. Probably when this gets passed, we will put on our city website that you can go check. It was the old Smoky Bear site where, it's green, yellow, or red, what the conditions of burning are. And if we fall in that yellow or red, then we would ban it locally and get that out on our social feeds.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Any additional questions before we open the public hearing? All right, hearing none, I would like to go ahead and open the public hearing for the amendment to ordinance 95.03 and the repealing of ordinances 95.04, 95.05, 95.06, and 95.99. Anyone wishing to speak, please either raise your hand or comment in the chat function.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Seeing and hearing nothing, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Any additional questions or comments from the council at this time? All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion for the city to adopt the amendments to the city ordinance 95.03 and repeal 95.04, 95.05, 95.06, and 95.99.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by Member McNeil, support by Member Underhill. Do a roll call vote, please.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Before we move into item 13A, I would like to seek a motion to excuse Member Gates from tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by Member McNeil, support by Member Metzger. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us on to item 13A, the Eagle and Jefferson Street water main bids. Tom and Marguerite, would you please brief us on this?
Go ahead and start, and then I'll let Marguerite give you the details, and then I'll probably jump in at the end. This is one of the projects we planned for this spring. We were planning to start a little bit earlier, but with the COVID-19 delay and us being out of the offices and working together, what this project is 5 blocks of water main replacement and repaving of the streets. This is on Eagle Street from Mansion Street to Hanover Street, the 3 blocks, and then Jefferson Street, Mansion Street to Michigan, and then Green to Hanover. A couple years ago, we did the Jefferson Street section when the Cronin building was under construction, so that block was done. And what the plan is that these would be water main replacement, new services, the sidewalk at the corners for ADA compliance, and then repaving of the street. The plan is that this project would start here in the next roughly 10 days and would be planned to be done by August 1st is when MDOT is coming in to pave Michigan Avenue. Even though we're off on the edge, we would still want to be out of their way because Mansion and Green Street is the detour for the night milling and paving on Michigan Avenue. So from there, I'll let Marguerite take it, and then we'll be willing to answer questions.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. We put this project out to bid on May 8th, and we received bids on May 27th, 2020 in Council Chambers. We had 4 companies bid, and the amounts are listed in the report. Thompson Construction, Hunter Prell, Concord Excavating, and Parrish Excavating were the 4 companies that bid. The low bidder was Thompson Construction with a bid of $619,000, $619,009.85. Hunter Prell was second low bid. We've had an adjustment to their bid than what's listed. The new bid amount is $620,446.75. That was due to an adjustment in one of their pay items to bring it in line with a request we made on the pay item. So their bid was lowered by about $3,700. So we are recommending that Hunter Prell of Battle Creek be awarded the contract. There are 2 specific reasons for that. The low bidder qualified their bid by stating in the bid document, or in the bid form, excuse me, that the project did not include dewatering. Our specifications under measurements and payments clearly state that water main shall include dewatering. For those of you that don't know, dewatering is any event where you have to take groundwater out of the trench when they are installing and excavating for the water main. They have to pump it out. It usually involves a delay. It can be expensive. It cannot be expensive. It depends on the situation. But it is included in the pay item, and the low bidder did not include that. So that's the first reason. The second reason is we requested references for the 2 low bidders, and Hunter Prell returned with more extensive experience in downtown water main construction. As you know, those streets, Eagle and Jefferson, they butt up to Michigan Ave. We have a lot of businesses. We have a lot of existing utilities that we need to work around. And Hunter Prell had references that met those needs. So for those 2 reasons, we are recommending that Hunter Prell be awarded the contract for this project. With the adjusted amounts, the overall funding amount will stay the same, but the contingency will be at $553,000.25. Again, the contract amount will be at $620,446.75. This will be paid out of the remaining fiscal year 2020 budgets in the water fund, capital outlay, and the major streets capital outlay. Those will both be carried over to 2021, and additional monies will be added to them from this year's budget to fund this. That is all I have. Did I miss anything, Tom?
A question.
Sure.
Were the other bidders notified of why they were not selected?
The low
No.
bidder, yes, was
Go ahead, Marguerite.
the low bidder was notified why they were not selected. Yes.
And we don't notify the other bidders?
The second low bidder was notified that they were being recommended. Yes.
The third and fourth bidder were at the bid opening.
Okay. That was what I was asking.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, appreciate that. Thanks.
Any additional questions or comments for Tom or Marguerite at this point?
And we feel comfortable with this, correct? This going forward with this. Okay.
Yes. For the closed caption, yes. We can't see nods of heads.
All right, so the recommendation is to approve the bid for the Eagle and Jefferson Street water main improvement to Hunter Prell in the adjusted amounts that I do not have in front of me. I apologize. Marguerite, if you could give us one more time.
Well, sure. We'll award the bid for the amount of $620,446.75.
And with the additional 10% contingency amount of
$69,553.25 for a total of $690,000.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Is it imperative to do this project, right? Right now?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I would seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by member Metzger, with support by member McNeil. And we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Traver? Member Underhill?
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger?
Yes.
Mayor Karen?
Yes.
Member McNeil?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That takes us to item 13B, Michigan Department of Transportation Sidewalk Cafe Resolution. Tom?
Yes, I was contacted by Grand River Brewery, looking at with the now a date where we can restaurants can open of expanding their capacity out on the Michigan Avenue. As you're all aware, they have the patio deck on Jefferson Street, but for them to move on to Michigan Avenue, which is state highway, you have to adopt the resolution that you were given, and then they get with MDOT to actually file the permit. You've done this in the past for Broadway Grill, and you also did it for Zarzuela's, but Zarzuela's never really moved forward with their project back in, I believe, 2018. I might have the wrong year. So we as staff are working very hard to help the businesses sales and capacity. So this is one way that they will be able to serve out in the right of way of Michigan Avenue.
Actually, Tom, Zarzuela did have outside front Michigan Avenue seating.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they, most of the time they require fencing like Broadway, but I'm not sure if, a lot of times it's related to serving alcohol, but this would give Grand River a very, give them more space. And we did have a few of us were on a call with the county health department, MDOT, the county, MEDA, of looking at ways now that we actually have a date to open up our restaurants, how we can work with them either in the Michigan Avenue right away or the parking lots behind. So there's a survey actually going out. I may have gone out this afternoon trying to find out what the needs are of not just restaurants, but the other businesses. We can be proactive in helping these businesses recover from many months of no sales. So you'll be hearing more about that.
I know in Florida, the governor did open up using your parking lots for seating because they want people outside.
Mm-hmm.
That survey did go out from MEDA today, from our discussions that we had late last week. So I'll make sure that that link gets forwarded to all of the council members so they can see that and see what we're working on to try to make more options for all of our downtown retailers and restaurants. Not only downtown, but citywide.
Hey, Tom. I'm just curious. I don't see anything in the resolution that actually says like how far out from the building they can come. Any sort of like definitions.
There is not as part of this, several years ago, we negotiated with MDOT of how they would let us use the Michigan Avenue right away. And I'm going to use Broadway Grill because Grand River is going to be a little different. The first 5 feet off from the building, which we call the first flag of sidewalk, can be used for merchandising. The center 5 feet is a clear path for ADA. And then the curb 5 feet is for light poles, trees, benches, planters, signs, etc. When you get to Grand River, being on the corner, they may be able to, if there is a clear pathway because of the bump out now, they may be able to go out further than the 5 feet, and that's what they would work with MDOT. MDOT does not want a serpentine pathway, but if it's near the corner, they may be able to go more. That's why there was no dimension exactly what they want to do, because they've got to work this out with MDOT.
Then are we ahead of this? I mean, should we be acting after we know what we're doing, what we're actually being asked to approve?
Well, again, MDOT has total control of that right away. The only thing you're doing is allowing them to be out there. No, this is the correct order. And I know Grand River has always worked well with us. I guess as an example of a bump out, I think of Schuler's and Pastrami Joe's, who are our right-of-ways. They go out a little further because there is the bump out as long as there is a clear path. Again, for the max amount of seating, I imagine Grand River, but once I get a drawing, I will share it with all of you and just to show what they finally get approved.
Do you know if they're intending to connect it with their, I mean, because they do have the bump out on the side of the building. Are they intending to connect it with that? Is that the plan? Do you know?
That I do not know. If you also remember the second doorway on Michigan Avenue, which is now not used, used to be where you used to go in the art studio, Gallery 101 or whatever the address, what it was, but I'm not sure if they use that. But those are things we will work together on to they just got in contact with me. I think it was on Wednesday or thereabouts. And so we got this in your hands. Unfortunately, we now have an opening date, but we'll share all those details with you as soon as we get them.
I'm hoping too that other businesses that might need that same consideration would come forward because they haven't been working in a long time. So anything we can do to help them would be awesome.
And most of the people are staying within that first 5 feet, but what makes a big difference is a serving of the alcohol. And OBX has tables out front. Marshall Pizza, I think, has tables out front. And those really don't get involved. They're staying in that 5 feet, but they're not serving alcohol. So that's the big key difference here.
Well, the grill is serving alcohol outside.
Right, and they have their permit.
Right.
I think today with the governor's announcement too, you know, we've now all got 8 days to figure out how we're going to move forward. So we might be hearing more from some of the local restaurants and retail establishments because there is a date and we know what we can do. So any additional questions at this point regarding the Sidewalk Cafe resolution? All right, hearing none.
Also to approve the sidewalk resolution.
Support.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Metzger, support by Member McNeil. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us to item 13, the East End Gallery easement.
Again, another item to help the downtown. As most of you are aware, East End Gallery and Studios or East End Studios Gallery are putting an elevator in the back where their current building is, but their new design, because of the need for a foundation for them to go up all the floors, they actually have to extend their footing into our right-of-way, the alley. So East End came to us about getting an easement to actually put the footer on our property. City Attorney Revore came back and said it would be better if they owned that 2.5 foot by 26.5 foot and then grant us an easement back. That way, if they ever need to go in and make a repair, they're actually working on their property. And so Mr. Revore, who's on tonight, if you have any specific questions, worked with the attorney for East End to draw up this paperwork. And I know if you put a motion on the floor, I know he would like to change the motion a little bit. And so when you reach that point, David, if he would, let you know just a couple words that need to be in there that gives flexibility to bring this to a final document.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions from the council for either Tom or David Revore?
I'm assuming this was looked at as far as whether it's going to bring any sort of impediment to the alleyway traffic. I know Mr. Herman has often expressed concerns that he has about his delivery trucks being able to get down that alley.
Yes, I've met with representatives, actually Director McDonald and Marguerite and myself have met with East End. The East End is talking with their neighbors. I know they've talked to at least 2 of them. And we've met another time with a concern. There will be a time where the alley will need to be closed. And they're working with Herman's Hardware, Schuler's, and the other businesses there during that period of time. I do not know if East End has actually approached some of the other businesses. But that task was put in their hands. But there will be a time and possibly 2 shorter periods where they will be needing to work in the alley as they build that elevator tower.
Any additional questions? All right,
I'm
hearing,
excited. I think it's a great thing they're doing.
A lot of things happening downtown, which is good. David, would you be willing to give the language that should be in the motion?
Yes, I'd recommend probably 2 motions on this. One, we have a conveyance of the subject property from the city to East End by warranty deed, and then the other motion would be to enter into the easement agreement. So, motion to deed the subject property to East End by warranty deed in substantial form. And that would allow, if there's any typos or anything else, to be corrected if such should be reviewed later.
all right, so hearing that, I would seek a
Actually, I have one more, Joe. Sorry. Would it make any sense to put a clause in here that if they do not build the elevator, that the land reverts?
It's certainly possible to do that with the with both the deed and the easement agreement. So then a amended motion would be in substantial form, subject to a reverter to do the property back to the city if they fail to install the elevator within, I would say 12 months. Their construction schedule is this summer, so if it doesn't come to pass this summer, it may not.
Right. We're just, unfortunately, we have other scenarios that we have to take into consideration. So just
And we
better
can put that reverter also in the easement agreement as well.
Okay. I think that'd be great if everyone else agrees.
I'm good with that.
All right, so do we have a motion and support here? We have the amended motion. Would anyone like to move that?
So moved.
Support.
So we have the motion by Underhill, support by member Wolfersberger. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Mr. Revore, the second motion.
Yes, pausing for just 1 minute so I can pull up that easement agreement. So motion to enter into the easement agreement with East End Studio and Gallery in substantial form to include a reverter clause that the elevator must be completed within 12 months.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
A motion by member McNeil, support by member Metzger. Do a roll call vote, please.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
May we have one more motion, please?
Yes.
Motion to authorize Clerk Nelson to execute final documents for the conveyance of the property and the easement agreement.
So moved. Or
We have a motion by member Traver, the support by member McNeil. And we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
member Traver,
yes.
member Underhill,
Yes.
member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
member McNeil.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. All right, that moves us to item 15 on the agenda, public comment on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to address the council may do so, giving their name and address for the record, have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Please either raise your hand or comment in the chat function.
I don't see any at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Give it just one more second here. All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to council and manager communications. Member Traver.
I just want to say that I noticed I was having a picnic at the fountain last night. I was reading the marker, and April of this year marked the 90th year since the dedication of the fountain. I thought that was kind of a cool milestone, so I wanted to bring that up.
Super cool.
Yeah. And then I noticed, I looked across at the Quarry condominiums, and the marker is missing from that post. Does anybody know about that?
No.
The silver post and nothing on top of it. So,
I wonder if anybody else's marker's gone.
great question. I don't know.
I thought you were gonna mention the grass.
The grass is mowed.
Oh, good. That was looking bad too.
Let me check. Mr. Lohman handles those typically, and I don't know if that went in for repair, or I guess no one else has mentioned it. So we'll check into it.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's all. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone noticed today, speaking of the fountain, but there was some work that we approved being done on that to get it ready for the season this year. They were working on that today, and then also later in the week, our other fountain will be brought back to life for the summer as well. So that's an exciting thing and kind of a sign of summer for our city. Member Metzger.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Member Underhill.
Nothing.
Member Wolfersberger.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Member McNeil.
We just had our airport board meeting, a couple of items from that. The work on the new terminal building was supposed to have started today, but there's been a couple of issues with the permits, so we're working through that. And then they are looking, as the executive orders are being eased, they're looking at bringing back some of the fundraising events. So the pancake breakfasts and the fly-ins. We'll look at revising our process for how we manage that to make sure everybody is able to enjoy it and be safe at the same time. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Clerk Nelson.
Nothing, thank you.
Manager Tarkowitz.
Two things. Councilmember McNeil wants to mention about groundbreaking. Invite the council if you want to jump back on.
Yep. I think we're settling on, Eric, you might need to help me out here, Saturday, June 13th.
Sir.
And so the idea would be we'd do some kind of sort of socially distanced event to celebrate the groundbreaking, take some pictures, put it in the paper, and then do something bigger, hopefully in the fall, for a dedication.
And that was at noon. I don't know if you got cut off there. June 13th at noon.
So everybody from council is invited. I'd love to see you there.
The only other thing I have is like to work out is when you would like to have the work session. If you want to have it prior to our June 15th meeting, or if you want to do it another date. So I guess I'd like to get that on the schedule when you would like to do that.
Sooner the better. And to be honest, I was thinking about it. We were talking about maybe in person, me by myself over here in Florida. And a Zoom or phone meeting is fine for our work session too. So, but sooner the better, I think, so we can just talk about it.
And I was going to make the recommendation to the council or ask that, I know a lot of us are kind of getting burnout with all of these Zoom calls and e-meetings. So if we could consider doing the next council meeting in person, of course, with the proper social distancing, and masks as necessary, I would like to move forward with that. The executive order does state that we can continue to do meetings through the end of June. So if any council member is not comfortable, they are welcome to call in. But I wanted to get everyone's thoughts on that as well.
Well, I'm one of the older people on this call. And honestly, I'm still not quite comfortable. I know there was 4 more cases here today in Calhoun. But I don't mind that you all meet in person. I'm not sure I would be in person, however.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to see, are we talking about doing this in council chamber? Because I would think social distancing on the DS would be pretty impossible.
I may suggest, there's 2 or really 3 locations. If you wanted to be indoors, either the PSB training room, or we can use the large conference room up at law enforcement.
I am so not opposed to being outside.
Well, and that was my other choice is, I believe we are very close. We're not ready to do a ribbon cutting, but conceivably we could meet at the new pavilion at Ketchum Park if the contractor would allow us to do that. We would just have to look at technology. Again, if you have an open meeting, you don't have to do the Zoom. You could just have the open meeting there. That would be another option. But again, that could be weather dependent.
Yeah, I would be all about that.
Yeah, my concerns about being inside are it would be hard to spread everybody out across the room. And then I believe, and then even past the latest executive order, we'd have to wear masks. So we'll be competing with the masks and the distance. So my vote would be outside or continue Zoom.
And also, if you were to do it inside, the rule still is 10 people inside. Outside is 100. So not that you have to expect to have 100 people, but the outside could be the option. If you allow me to work on that, I was thinking Ketchum Park could be a good spot there if the weather would be good. And I'm assuming you're talking June 15th for the regular council meeting there. It's a smaller agenda. So if you'd like to do that there, and then if you want to select a date for the work session, if you want to do I heard earlier, but I guess I'm not sure if we are outside. I guess you need to choose a date. I'm pretty open at night.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about the work session. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nick and everyone, I would just assume we do them on the same day if we are going to be getting together. Does that sound okay with the council?
Yeah,
Ryan?
I think so. If we're, if we're going to meet in person, I might as well limit it.
Okay.
All right, so Tom, will you please check with the contractor and make sure that that would be acceptable with their progress?
So we would be looking potentially Ketchum Park new pavilion on June 15th, 6 o'clock work session, 7 o'clock regular council meeting.
Correct.
And I will talk with the more techie people about, can we still get it out, either by iPhones or something. We'll have to work that out if we can record it, because I know Mr. Davis enjoys listening to these. Maybe he would even come out and enjoy the park with us.
Ed has 2 weeks to put in some fiber net.
All right.
Yeah, I can see him. Okay, we'll work on that, and we'll get on that right away, and staff will talk tomorrow, and we'll get to the contractor. So thank you. That's all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, any additional comments at this point? All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion to enter into closed section under Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act to discuss strategy for a collective bargaining agreement.
So moved. Could we have a 10-minute break, please?
Support.
Okay, the roll call, and you should have a new Zoom number to call into that closed session. So, Tricia, we need a roll call vote.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's 8:20 now. We will reconvene and start by 8:30 with a new link.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.